Hello, everyone. Today we are bringing you a special show. Today, this is the kickoff for Black History Month. We are kicking off Your Approved, the podcast show, which we're going to be starting with interviewing Miss Angela Scott here today. As you know, this podcast is about highlighting the women in our community. There are so many women in our community who have done so many magnificent things, and their stories just simply don't get told enough. And we don't know who they truly are outside of business most of the time. So I want to start and bring you this podcast opportunity as we go behind the scenes and take a dive into their stories and see what it is that helped shape them to become the dynamic women that they are today. So today we have, as I said, Angela Scott, who is a Central Florida native that currently owns and operates three successful businesses: Scott and Associates accounting firm, Hunt Club Business, and Scott Capital Finance, which I serve as a mortgage loan officer under. All right. So I'm going to allow her to tell you about her businesses and what it is she do and how she does it so well.
Okay. Mic on. I am so honored to be a host on your show, Kiana, which is all about women empowerment and being approved. So just thank you for choosing me as
Absolutely.
the person to interview. And of course, as she shared, my name's Angela Scott, owner of Scott and Associates accounting firm. I always usually come in and say that's my company that pays my bills. We turned 17 on March 18th of this year, so super
Wow.
excited about that.
Wow, that's
Have another
amazing.
17th birthday. Also own Scott Capital Finance, which is the mortgage firm that I am proudly partnered with you on, doing home loans, residential and commercial lending, some SBA lending, lines of credit. We help individuals and business owners find the capital they need to grow.
Yes.
And of course, my newest baby, Hunt Club Business Center. It's the home of where my businesses live. And we also rent out office space for other business owners. And then we have the virtual space, which owners can use so that they have a professional business presence and they don't have their house on the internet. So usually that's how I promote Hunt Club. Get your house off the internet. Stop letting everybody know where you stay when you incorporate using your home address.
Yep.
Don't worry about, yes, some people do the mail and more, but then when they Google you, Google shows the public shopping plaza. And if you go to the post office and use that address, you get that postal location. So with our virtual, since we are an actual physical office location, we really help business owners get that professional appeal while still being flexible with, where you work.
Yes. So, as I stated, you guys, you already can see how dynamic she is. So, I can't wait to
Honored.
share with you what it is that is so special about Angela and what she does and how she does it. So, today we're going to be diving into that, you guys. I'm going to be asking her different questions just about her childhood, through her life journey, the ups and downs, the struggles, the successes that she has had to go through in order
Ah,
to get to where she I
we're
know we're
getting
gonna dive
deep.
deep. And it's not every day that
Sorry.
most business owners and entrepreneurs are live about this stuff and that discuss this stuff openly. So just bear with us as we dive in. All right. So the first question that I'm going to ask is, where were you born
Mhm.
and how was your childhood growing up?
Wow. Okay, that's that might take up the whole show if we talk about that. But of course, I do like the story of where I was born and even how I was born. I am a person that every year around my birthday celebration, my mom gives me that same prayer. So I was born in Miami, Florida. I was born out of Jackson Memorial Hospital. My due date was November. I came in August as a 6-month old preemie.
Oh, wow.
The doctors told my mother that she probably wouldn't even benefit from naming me because they gave me less than a week to live. They kept telling
Wow.
her for a long time that it was just touch and go, my organs, vitals, just I was too fresh. I wasn't ready to come out, but I came out anyway. And,
Mm,
despite those odds, I am here. And so that's just
yes.
a part of her prayer of always thanking God that, her baby, that fighter. And I love that when she shares that story because she's always trying to remind me, as her child, just how strong I am.
Yes, and you
And
definitely are. I've seen that
of
so many
course,
ways.
and of course, my upbringing was just different. I am of Haitian descent. My mother is originally from Haiti. She left home at 17, but those are her roots, even though she traveled, and it kind of changed her culturally. She kind of grabbed influence everywhere she went. But we grew up with just her and us. It was always just her and her five children. I was, however, very blessed at a very young age to have a best friend that was of Hispanic descent. And, my mother struggled. Like, she worked two jobs for us to be very, very poor.
For you to still be poor.
Yes, very, very poor. She worked two jobs and we would still have the lights off and a refrigerator with water and butter in it.
Mm,
But we always had a roof over our head. So it was just a blessing to have that friend that took us, well, not us, I'm sorry, took me in. And her mother used to always call me her adopted child.
mm.
And so I got to still, even coming from a single mother, I always got to experience what it was like to have a family dynamic. I went to church with these people, got baptized, was in Pathfinders, played drums, was in the Spanish choir, the only
So I
black
have a
girl
couple
there.
questions about that. I have a couple of questions. Okay, so was this in Miami
Oh,
where you were
I'm so
born, or
sorry.
was this
My
here?
mother relocated us to Altamont Springs,
Okay, when you were
and we
how old?
grew up at 5. At
Okay,
5.
okay,
And so Miami just became that place we went to for the summers
okay.
until she stopped, but yeah.
Okay, now shedding light on you being able to experience a Hispanic family, because even today, as you guys may or may not know, we're in Angela's studio right now doing this podcast, and I work with her husband, and they have a podcast as well that we did earlier. And today's topic was actually colorism, which I made a point in the comment because there, for those of you who may not seen it, the singer Tyrese today actually went public and said that he wished he was Hispanic or Latino is what he used as if
Mm,
to denounce his blackness. But he said that he wished black people were more cohesive together and we did more of this as a community and so forth. But that just makes me that makes me want to ask a question
yeah,
about you actually
growing up in
being
that
able to
Hispanic.
see what that Hispanic lifestyle was about, just getting a glimpse of it. And what would you
Yeah.
say?
I understood exactly where Tyrese was coming from. I understood exactly where he was, I mean, very loving of a culture, very accepting of a culture. So it can kind of seem disappointing sometimes if you are connected to a culture that doesn't do as other cultures. Because growing up, I grew up in a melting pot kind of situation. So I grew up having friends of with people of all kind of cultures. And yes, I was able to see firsthand how well every culture, um, how their dynamics work. But what I always unfortunately understood is that yes, I was treated well. Yes, I was loved upon. However, I was not one of them. Now, sometimes in the Hispanic, culture, because Afro Latinos is truly a thing, and technically, I'm considered Afro Latino, Latina. However, it's just something where I don't agree with Tyrese. I want that for my community to me, they just gave me the blueprint. Growing up, it just kind of gave me the blueprint of how well we could thrive. So it was just something I took as a learning curve. I didn't get tainted by it, and it's really my motivation on why I'm as so supportive and just go hard for Black people, because I know we can do this. I know we can be successful.
And that is so very important, you guys. And I just want to shed light on that's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, because there are some people out there who do not get to experience different things when it comes to family or success. Some people only have one lens to look at, where they may not see anyone around them who is doing it with a family, or anyone who's doing it who has had support of loved ones and had the resources or had someone to point them in the right directions. So I do think that it's very important for us to be able to highlight and share our own experiences and our own journeys on what it is, what it took for us to get through
Yeah.
the complexities of life and the trials of life. Because Angela has been able to be successful and do it with her husband and her family. Now, of course, she's went through many things, but the fact that she is here today, and as she stated before, 17 years in as a business owner, that's not common in our community, unfortunately.
No.
Like they say, the statistics is most businesses fail within the first, 5 years?
Correct.
5 years. So to sit here today and see what she's built, and for her to say that is just truly amazing. So I'm gonna go to the next question. And so the next question, you went to college, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Going into college, did you intentionally set out to be a business owner, or did you just kind of fall into entrepreneurship like most of us?
I fell into entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And then I did not do traditional college. It's something that I always wish I did do. Well, I guess I can't say that because then I wouldn't have met my wonderful husband if I did choose that route.
Aw.
But when I did finally get to do, adult college, night college, I was already married and I was already a mom. And no, I, like many people, thought I was going to be a part of corporate America.
Okay.
That's, my heart was set on get a good education, get you a good job with benefits, and, be happy in life. But it wasn't until I finally got to kind of experience corporate America for what it was. It just reminded me too much about society. Corporate America just made it seem like, just like in society, that I was going to have to be approved, like getting approved, making sure that I aligned with managers. It seemed like too much, kissing up. And then for us being people of color, you would only see one little trophy Black person being the most successful. And that was supposed to be our inspiration. So it's like, dang, what I got to do to be the one token Black girl that makes it all the way up that ladder? And I just
Right.
decided that was not a race I wanted to be a part of. Like, my God didn't design me to do all this foolishness, but I know what he said, that, he would bless and prosper me. And
Absolutely.
so I said, nope, can't do corporate America, because I would probably have cussed everybody out from very top to the bottom.
Yeah, and especially in corporate America, being a double minority as a
Mhm.
Black woman.
Yeah,
So would you say that it's still like that today in corporate America?
I believe so. I mean, it's to the point as a business owner as well, especially when it comes to companies that I'm dealing with. I love to look at their board of directors. That's
Mhm.
something that's now important to me, because I want to look at how diversified are they. And if I don't see that you're diversified, I want to call you out on that, because maybe you're not the business partner that I want to be partnered with, because
Mhm.
I want to see women on that board. I want to see people of color on that board.
Mhm.
If everyone looks the same, I have a problem with that. So I make demands as well, because I want to be part of that solution.
Yes, and I think that's important too when we are continuously trying to climb the ladder, whatever ladder of success that it is that we choose to make sure that we are one, calling people out when we don't see that diversity, and then
Mhm.
making sure that we somehow can be the change. So we're not just going with the flow or going along to get along when it comes to that. And I think a lot of times we can be afraid to do that and step out and be different or be the change, because we may be afraid of how our how we might not be as successful. But I think that it's so important to make sure that we continue to just call these things out, that
Absolutely.
we see that there
Mhm.
is a problem,
Yeah.
identify the problem, and then be the change and the solution that we need.
And I've always tried to tell people like this, you know what? If we are good enough for them to take our money, and if we are good enough for us to make them money, especially when we're in sales, then we are good enough to run the business. We are good enough to be in position because,
Absolutely.
we've already made you successful on how we contributed, whether it was through our dollars or through our work. So then we got to be a part of those big decisions, especially when you're coming for us as your consumer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what would you say were some of the toughest challenges that you faced on your journey, and how did you overcome them?
Goodness, it's because I feel like it's the conversation again when it comes to colorism,
Mm.
being a woman and being even young.
Well, it was like they set us
Um,
up for this.
yeah, I'm telling you, because there are layers to this, like
Mm,
just layers. But I would say the biggest challenge I had to overcome was feeling like I always had to prove myself.
mm,
And when you are a woman of color, you have to prove yourself to everybody, including your own. It's even your own that you have to prove that you're educated enough, that you're experienced, enough. You just have to prove that you're good enough. With the questions that you ask, and that can tear a person down. So building up, and having thick skin, I'd say what helped me a lot, my faith.
mm.
Without my faith, I could not have endured any of those adversities that we face being women of color. And what I learned from that is the same way that can sometimes weaken you, you got to let that empower you. So I stopped focusing on being a black woman. It's like, okay, I'm a black woman, and what?
Right, right.
And what? I'm not going to allow anyone to make that a flaw. That's my power.
Yeah.
And so when I started to convince myself that, that's when things really started to change. And then it's like, I ain't got to prove nothing to you. Like, my God approved me. I
Right.
don't got to prove nothing to
Exactly.
none of y'all.
And you are already approved. Please always know that no matter what you're going through, no matter what trials you're trying to surpass, you are
Which,
always approved. You have to remember that, because that is so important when navigating the complexities of life as just a regular person, as a business owner. It could be challenging just as a woman in general, just to get up every day, wake up every day, and do what it is that you need to or have to do just to survive in this world. You have to already know that you're approved, and you can't go out there looking for other people to approve you, because the moment that you forget that, the moment that you begin to fall back into and allow things to overtake you. So you have to already know these things, and you have to continue to believe it in your mind and tell yourself that. All right. So
absolutely. And I'm sorry. I know you want to ask me another question, but I just
go
had to
ahead.
kind
Go
of
ahead.
slide that in because that was so good. And I was going to say, a bonus to even being a woman of color is when you can connect to like minded individuals such as yourself. Like, putting this podcast together, or you putting this podcast together and creating that space where we can, talk this out. We kind of understand that. So there's so much empowerment.
Mhm.
And so having that circle, your support circle, is very important as well in building that success.
Yes, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because that is one of my questions,
Oh,
which is, with your community and you cultivating your community on the way to your success. How did you do that? What did that look like? Was it family? Was it people that you kind of like met along the way? Because I know for me, as being in the state of Florida, for most of you who do or may not know, I'm not from Florida, so I don't have any family here. So me personally, I've had to cultivate a space, and thank God I met Angela, because she is one of the people that I can lean on. But for you, who is a native here, you have most of your family here.
yeah.
Was it your family that became that your community, was your community that you leaned on, or?
Yeah. There's different dynamics. So I will say that. There's different dynamics. So yes, my support system is also like in different layers. And I think everyone plays a very important role. Of course, faith is the biggest aspect of what drives me and what encourages me. I was also very, very blessed to have a spouse where we motivate each other. Like when we were very young and in love, and not that we're not in love, of course we're still in love, but when we were young and it was just all about dreaming, like this man, we could stay up 3, 5 o'clock in the morning talking about our dreams and our plans for life.
Mm,
And it was just amazing because then afterwards, the first thing I wanted to do was just pray and manifest it.
yes.
But then I always say that, you should have a multitude of different people that you're connected to. One, you should always connect with a person that inspires you, that's, doing big things where you're trying to be. Because that's important for growth. It is. If you're staying around the same circle, and I love that saying, you're gonna be what your circle is because you're not putting yourself in any other situation besides that circle. But it's good to still have like your support group. A lot of my friends, don't own businesses. They're not business women. But they know me and they love me. So
Mhm,
sometimes having a hard day, you just need that friend that can pull you back and give you that love and encouragement that
mhm.
you need.
And also remind you who you are outside of business as well, because that is very important. I have friends that are not business owners and that are not
Mhm,
here, but at the end of the day, they always remind me who I am
mhm.
when things get tough. So that's important
Yeah.
too.
And then your elders. I think it's just a blessing to
Absolutely.
have the elders in your life.
That wisdom,
Recently
that
my
old wisdom.
mother, and she had me cracking up because I was real nervous about something I had to take care of, and just 5 minutes of conversating with her. And man, I felt like I could take over the world again. I mean, the woman just had me smiling ear to ear and we were funny because we were laughing at it. Because she didn't even realize Disney came out with a movie, Woman King. And she was just like, you know what? I can't even call you a princess or a queen. You a king.
Yeah,
You think
yeah,
like a king. You move like a king.
yes.
So you a woman king. And I just laughed.
And she said that without knowing about the movie.
Right.
Oh, wow. So
She's
that
like,
makes
you my woman king.
wow.
And I laughed about that, but I've like her words and her saying that, it will last my lifetime. Even my aunt that I inherited through marriage, may she forever sleep in peace. She used to always crack everybody up. Her daughter came and saw me a couple weeks back, and she remembered we're laughing because she was like, anything she needed to figure out, she treated me like Google. I guess that was the thing before Google. Everything was, let me call my niece. My niece, no, my niece is smart. I'm gonna call my niece, and if I did have the answer, she'd tell everybody. See, I told y'all my niece is smart. My niece, no, my niece. So it was that motivation I needed.
Yes, yes.
So having that support system is so important.
So where would you say, you mentioned earlier about going out and kind of just finding those people that may not be in place now. What would you recommend for women to do in order to go out and find those
Network, network, network. Networking is so important. And what also makes networking powerful, and I think people sleep on, because I usually hear people sometimes be like, oh, but it's so tiring. I've had a long, work week. I don't want to go out and feel like I don't even know these people. They're stuffy. That's your perception. You have
mhm,
to flip the perception,
mhm,
because networking puts you in the room with people you likely wouldn't even have come across had you not attended that event.
mhm,
So that's important. And I've learned in life, but background was in sales. You can't try to always sell you. You learn about your client so that you know what their needs is. You sell them on them. You make it about them. So, when I saw a powerful woman in the room, I would let them know I am so inspired by you and everything you're doing. If I knew of something, and then I would just say, how can I keep in touch with you? Do you have a card?
mhm, mhm.
Follow up with an email.
So for you, like if there was someone that was trying to build a relationship with you or get to know you,
Mhm.
what are some things that you would like recommend for them to do in order to be in, be able to meet you and
Yeah. The same thing I suggested. I promise you I'm very approachable. You know,
yes, absolutely.
and if a person wanted to, meet for coffee or meet after hours, happy hour somewhere, intimate setting, whatever you're, into, or even if a person wanted to block out 20 minutes to, talk over the phone, just a dialect, that's just the best way to approach me. Yeah,
Absolutely.
but usually networking, I love coffee or happy hour because I always try to, even with clients, with getting to know you, I want to be in a more comfortable, intimate settings because I feel like sometimes certain spaces, everyone has kind of like their guards up and you're putting your best foot forward, which you should. But it's like, no, I'm not gonna bite. I just want you to be you, and I want myself to be myself. Let it flow.
Okay, okay. So you mentioned about how your husband was very instrumental in you,
Mhm.
journeying through to where you are today. As a wife, a mother, and an entrepreneur, how do you balance it all and the demands of both roles?
Oh, honey, can we go back to prayer? Can we go back to prayer? But also to, marrying and being in the right relationship. I'll just have to be honest, because sometimes, through experiences, people be connected to people they shouldn't be connected to.
Yes.
So having a partner that is equally yoked, having a partner that understands you, I'd say we know how to nurture each other well and do things for each other. Because we work a lot and parents and business owners, we do self-care Sundays with each other,
Oh, okay.
and it's just important. So having that partner that just allows you to or reminds you to sit back and enjoy life
Yes.
and do life with. That's how we get that work life balance. And then it also helps from time to time because, when the kids were small, we were guilty. I still remember and laugh about getting up, getting dressed to go to work. And we're getting ready to walk out the door and looking at these kids in their pajamas, like, well, what's going on with y'all? And they're like, we don't have school today. And it's like, what we supposed to do with them?
Right.
Where they supposed to go?
Yes.
That's just entrepreneurship. But having
Yeah.
someone to balance life with, it has certainly made that journey a lot easier.
And I think it's so special too that not only do you guys work together and have businesses together, but you actually work every day in the same location every day,
Yes.
which I've heard before from other couples that is kind of can be tough, working with a person every single day,
Yeah.
all day, and then going home to that person as well.
It's
So,
not tough at all. Running 3 businesses, we can't look at each other. We can't look at each other. We are busy, and we're blessed having clientele, so that's why having, like, self-care Sunday or going out to dinner, people laugh, but no, as much as we work together and we work in the same office environment, sometimes we're there 10 hours, and out of those 10 hours, just in passing, I'd say we probably saw each other for 2 of those hours, if that. So no time is spent because it's just always on go. We are both those individuals. We're always on go. So working together is easy. Now, if we weren't probably making any money, it'd be hard because I'm looking at him, he's looking at me. Then we're gonna have to figure out what we're gonna figure out. But thankfully we're busy, so it's like it feels like we don't work together.
gotcha. Okay. Um, now, you may have kind of answered this question already, but I just want to ask it so that you can give more of I guess, a direct answer. I
Okay.
believe you kind of answered it, but
Okay.
the question is, how did you define success for yourself?
Mm. Honestly, once and this is probably going back 17 years. I was blessed to have met a spiritual elder and advisor. And this spiritual person just gave me a different dynamic biblically than I had ever been exposed to. One of those learnings was even just learning that God had a name, Yahweh, and he showed me in the back of the Bible and started showing me stuff in the encyclopedia. And so for the first time in my life, I just felt so empowered. I felt just so empowered, and I learned about manifestation and the power of words and how a person could speak life into themselves. And, once I got that spiritually connected, I understood my assignment. Like, I understood that nothing on this earth would be withheld from me. And I
Wow.
started to walk in that power.
That's deep. That's deep. I think that it's very important when you are on your journey, as I stated before, as an entrepreneur, just as a person, whether you are climbing a corporate ladder, whatever it is that you're doing, it is so important to have something that does empower you that you can always go back to,
Yeah.
whatever that may be. And of course, spiritual, because we are spiritual people, we
Yes.
believe, but that's gonna always be key.
Yeah.
But even outside of that, if it's something that, if it could be maybe, I don't know, some words, a particular book, or some people outside of spiritual, always have something that you can, directly feel empowered from. It may be
Yeah.
your family, it may be your kids, who
Yeah.
knows? But having that, so that because when you're depleted and when you're
Mhm.
drained, you then have something that could refuel you. Is
And remind you who you are.
And remind you who you are. That's very, very
Mhm.
important. Um, so
But
I want you
I'm
to.
sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry,
You
okay.
wanted to say something?
I just want to say that your last words were so powerful. And sometimes when I hear something so powerful, I repeat it because in my mind that then the persons can get the effects of it. Because I
Yes.
feel like words can be, effective.
Yes.
But it's true. Because sometimes in life you do feel depleted. And so you said always have something that you can go back to. And that is
Mhm.
important. And I think that's why people love to, meditate or,
Mhm.
prayer is also a form of meditation.
Mhm.
But yes, having something. I love the concept where people would give themselves, prayer rooms or
Mhm.
prayer closets, literally giving yourself, a place to go back and get regrounded.
Yeah.
Because regrounding yourself is going to be so important.
Yes, and even maybe journaling. Sometimes that could be you
Correct.
journaling, and maybe journaling some scriptures, or
Mhm.
journaling your dreams or your goals, or
Mhm.
something of that nature. So those things are definitely important. I want you to share your perspective of how Black women can redefine success on their terms. And I feel like I know
Okay.
because I know that you are rooted in spiritualness,
Yes.
and I know that that's a big part, because that's a big part for me too.
Mhm.
And for redefining success, outside of spiritual, what would you say is a way to navigate what success may could be to another Black woman, the advice that you
Yes.
would give them?
Well, personally, I can't really ever go too far outside of spiritual because spiritual is just who I am, in my faith. But I will say, and I can't think of the name of that movie, but I always love and I laugh that, you is kind, you is
Oh,
smart, you is
yes,
important.
yes, yes.
But I just think,
The help.
I'm not even going to say I think, I know that Black women are the most phenomenal of all women. And I don't say that to water any woman down, but from the time that they told me that it was the DNA of a Black woman who is responsible for all the health that we have today for our antibiotics, like that's our genes. And to know that every human on this earth shares a gene that's connected to us.
Mm,
We are Queen Mother. And that has been my mindset. So,
mhm,
as a Black woman, yes, you can be successful because you are Queen Mother.
mhm.
Can't nobody define us. We defined them.
Yeah.
We defined them. And what makes us also
All
for
nations, as
power
they
is
say.
that we are very nurturing and we are very loving. And we have allowed ourselves to be watered down because society designed it by that. But it's time for us to hold our hell our head up high and just walk in our power.
Wow. I know, right? I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Wow. Woo. You just
Yeah.
said a whole like that. We could end the show right there. Because I don't have nothing else to ask you at this point.
Yeah, it's
Like, you just
you
gave the
can't tell,
ultimate
yeah, you can't
answer.
tell me nothing.
So I do have one last question, you guys, because we are going to go ahead and wrap it up. We didn't tend to keep you all long, and Angela has shared so much with us. She's been phenomenal with sharing her story, her true beliefs, and giving us clues of what success is and can be for you outside of herself. Because of course, everybody's journey is different.
Yes.
Everybody will walk a different path, and it's going to look different. But what we want to do is just um be able to give you information that could help you along that journey in some form or fashion. So as I close out, I want to ask the last question. As you reflect on your journey,
Mhm.
what legacy do you hope to leave for aspiring women entrepreneurs?
Oh, wow. I love that. The legacy that I want to leave for all women is that we are powerful and that it is still important to support each other. So if I can create that space and platform to encourage women and even future leaders, young women, I think that sometimes, especially today, we don't always understand our role and our value. And I think it's important. I think it's important to start at a young age. So I just hope to leave a legacy behind to just remind women that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter your upbringing, and it doesn't matter, how far down you started. The important thing is just to start. And with Oprah, I think that's why I've always somewhat been obsessed with her to an extent, because she started from very humble beginnings and became a billionaire. So it's almost going back into just, walking in your power, but also not being afraid to take that first step. So just encouraging, because I think it's always hard in the beginning. It's in the very beginning that most women feel defeated when she's
Mhm.
trying to be an entrepreneur, especially when you want to have children, or you might be in the midst of raising your children, and then you want to balance career, and then you want to balance, your marriage, and you want to be a good wife. And oftentimes women feel discouraged and feel like they have to give up something. But no, I always say, girl, you can have it all. It's actually a book that I'm trying to finish writing. Girl, you can have it all. Balancing work and life, because then when you have to put your friends into the mix, that becomes something else too. So it often feels complicated.
Wow. That was wow. So that was phenomenal, you guys. Um, like I have no words for that after with Angela sharing that. I just want to say thank you so very much
No, thank
for sharing
you.
that. Thank you for coming on today and being able to share your journey. And I've learned a lot. I hope that the audience was able to take away from this as well, because there was so much knowledge dropped here today. So before we exit, you guys, I just want to let you guys know that this will be streamed to YouTube going forward, and that we will be setting up everything for you to be able to continue to tune in. And there will be replays if you want to rewatch it, because I'm going to rewatch this. This was so amazing. But you can find Angela. Do you want to let them know where they could find you?
Yes, of course. I will be glad to tell the people.
Yes, then let the people know.
First, let me take care of my bills by saying you can find Scott and Associates on Count on Scott. That's Count on Scott on Facebook and Count on Scott on Instagram. Do we have a Twitter account for Count on Scott? And you can find Count on Scott on Twitter. Also, there is Hunt Club Business Center.
X.
Oh, I'm
Twitter or
sorry.
X.
X, Twitter X. I'm sorry about that.
Everybody
Okay,
still
thanks
call
for
it
that.
Twitter.
Yeah. Scott and I'm sorry, I'm still trying to pay those bills. Scott Capital. That's on Facebook, and of course, my personal business page on Instagram and Facebook, Miss Finance Pro. Don't forget the R in that Miss because she's spoken for.
Okay.
Yep, and those are my platforms. That's how you can find me.
Okay. Well, there you have it, guys. So I just want to leave all of you with a quote today. And before we go, I have to also thank Mr. Scott because he's in the background here helping us out, being our producer. But before we get out of here today, I want to leave you with a quote. Empowered women empower the world. In celebrating Black History Month, let us honor the strength, resilience, and brilliance of Black women who have shaped history. May your legacy inspire us to stand tall, speak out our truth, and continue the journey towards equity and justice for all women.
I love that. May I have a quote for a Black woman for Black History Month?
Absolutely.
They say all that glitter ain't gold, but we sure do.
Oh, I know that's right because we both on
Glittering
today,
and we gold, honey.
All right, you guys, enjoy the rest of the Sunday afternoon, evening.